What does it mean to be clutch? Sports and competition at the grade school through high school levels should teach you all about playing through adversity. When things don't go your way, being able to finish that fight to the best of your ability. There are tons of lessons like this that you're expected to learn and apply to whatever you end up doing in life. After all, any football coach worth his salt is going to teach his players the difference between being hurt and being injured. But when you consider the global elite level of competition in any field and the mental toughness, fortitude, and insanity that is required to play at that level and perform, these lines can sometimes become blurred. You know, I think about Kobe. I think about Brett Favre before he stole millions of dollars from the state of Mississippi welfare fund. Think about players like Ronaldo playing until the end after... Oh, wait, that didn't happen. But anyway, few of these instances precede themselves the way the flu game does. With a renewed focus on this moment as a result of The Last Dance, this was a defining moment for Jordan's career, not because of the mystery, the intrigue, the air of toxic rivalry or fandom, but because of the performance in spite of the conditions. For years, there were theories with some people involved not really breaking their silence. Regardless of its evolution from the flu game through Pizzagate, the moment and its impact is nonetheless one that transcends the game as an example of pushing past the threshold of pain through mental toughness and elite focus at the highest level. Part of the reason why I got into fighting games, and I think for players of a certain generation, there might be a lot of people who are similar, but the competitive drive that I felt from these games and the energy of the scene around them, it felt closest to what sports did for me in high school. Since I play fighting games, I naturally look for sports analogs or comparisons. Not gonna lie though, and this is one reason why I hate the term esports, there isn't going to be an example that hits like this concept is experienced through contact sports. Like, I'm sorry, but your mouse dying in the middle of the Counter-Strike tournament, you not having the defuse kit at bomb site B is not adversity in the same way, right? For fighting game players or even Smash tournaments, showing up to play hungover or being 2 or 3 gummies deep or having a Smash player yell in your ear when you grip up their character. In tournament sets, these no doubt require their own form of mental toughness and fortitude to play through. There's no doubt there's adversity there, to varying degrees, but if I ask myself what's the closest thing to a flu game in fighting games, it would have to be the peculiar case of the Third Strike tournament of SBO Togeki 2008. Enter MOV.
MOV です。ストリートファイターを25年ぐらい最前線でやってます。
今年のエボ大会優勝のお気持ちはいかがでしょうか？
初めて20歳の時に陶撃優勝したのと比べると実は嬉しさっていうとそれほどでもないんですけど、でもなんかその25年続けてたゲームで今更そんなね大きな舞台で素晴らしいトーナメントがあるっていうこと自体が本当にありがたいことだなと思って、自分以上に周りのなんか長いこと一緒にゲームやってた友達とかが喜んでくれたんで、なんか感謝だなって思いました。
With MOV's win at EVO 2024, Third Strike gets one of its greatest champions to once again claim the throne. After all, MOV has won SBO, the JP Nationals, 4 times. No one else in any other game had done that by the time Togeki series ends in 2012. His win at Third Strike was actually more about him going back to the old him, as he's been a consistent competitor throughout Street Fighter V, Sam Show, and now Street Fighter VI.
それはやっぱり大きなタイトルを取るたんびにそれぞれ自分の中では印象深いんですけど、それとは別になんか世界一になってもこのゲームが本当に極まったなって感じることは全然ないんで、なんかタイトルとは別に自分のなりたいプレイヤーだったりなりたいプレイングをできるようになんかずっと続けてたいなとは思ってますね。
In fact, the biggest Street Fighter VI branded local in Japan, Fighters Crossover Akiba, now hosts weekly events that are under the umbrella brand throughout the country. And even in Tokyo, in multiple different stations and areas, each one will host its own version of the Fighters Crossover local. In Shinbashi, MOV's bar functions as that venue. so I decided to stop by a shop and get a look at what's becoming a popular stop for Street Fighter 6 offline competition.
僕の親の世代とかって全然ゲームで活躍してるとかがすごいとか思わない世代なんで、もうあなたいつまでゲームなんかやってるのっていう感じだったんで、ちょっとなんか親を安心させてあげたくて親孝行しようかなと思って始めたりとか、まあその親孝行するついでにじゃあ友達とかね、自分のこと好きでいてくれる人が集まれるなんかコミュニティの場が作れたらいいなみたいなので思いついたんですけど、でも全然もうゲーム以外のこと僕本当何にもできないんで。
For those of you that don't know, and I've spoken about this in some other videos as well, check those out, but you have to understand some ideas behind fighting game events and their trajectory over the past 20 years. See, Japan doesn't really have the hotel ballroom culture that we have here in the West, so the competitive culture there was really based around official events run by publishers or events organized and run by arcade staff operators. This SBO series was basically the proposed national tournament series, where structure-wise, there was no open entry. You had to qualify by winning a qualifier tournament. Many titles would also opt for team formats, which meant you had legendary team-ups of players fighting as a unit. This also opened up strategy potential in games with more rigid tier list structure, where characters and players that might not be a huge threat in a singles tournament would be a huge asset to a team format. This didn't always work out according to plan, but it was great at promoting arcade tourism and regional rivalries. And of course, this was also visible in its overseas qualifiers as well. Just qualifying for the final ends up being a big deal. To give you an idea, these are the stats for all of the stores and then all of the average participants and the total participants that they estimate tried to compete in each game at their respective qualifiers for SBO 2008 that year. Yo, peep Melty Blood real quick. Y'all talk mad trash on that game. People were out here playing. You can say what you want. There you see the Third Strike stats as well. Tekken 6 was, of course, this was its first year. But just to give you an idea of what the experience was like. Traveling as a unit to arcades across the country to compete and represent your local scene and being able to carry that onto the stage at the final, that's kind of what this series was really about. And when you get your hands on one of those programs and you look through the pages of all these comments from all these teams, you get a sense for that. For example, check this one out. Yo, shout out to Team East meets West, man. This was peak Jae-Wong in his villain arc. Cool guys, look at him, no comment. Just, yeah, we're here to play. Now, up until this point, MOV had already won Third Strike once with Spellmaster J and Nito at SBO Togeki 2006. Going into the 2008 SBO season, the first step was, of course, deciding teammates and character roster. MOV ended up teaming with Kuroda and Inoue. Kuroda, once widely regarded as the golden boy savant of Third Strike before his eventual exile from the community, would commit to using Goki or Akuma for this tournament. Inoue, an EVO champion and CVS2 phenom originally from the Osaka area, for this event would commit to using Makoto.
強さというよりは、普段というか、もうこいつのなんか考え方すごいなとか、こいつの取り組みすごいなっていうなんかインスピレーションを受けてたんで、その自然と一番普段から一緒にゲームしてる中で組んだんですけど、でも結局その3人でもうチーム組むことはね、それが最初で最後になったから、印象深いといえば印象深いですね。
With that said, everything seemed prepared and in order for their competition going into the final, but as Burns said, the best laid plans will often go awry.
いやもう闘撃の前日に折れて、でもう前日いよいよ明日闘撃だってみんな集まってるゲーセンにもうこんな包帯ぐるぐるで行って、MOV 終わったみたいなすごい空気になりましたね。
Though crestfallen, on Saturday, August 16, 2008, the team entered Tokyo Dome City JCB Hall to begin their Third Strike tournament run for SBO 2008. The run starts with round 1 up against Yamada Gakko Third Strike Club And ultimately, they're able to stick to the plan and rely on the team's strengths outside of MOV to be able to create stable wins, right? Then round 2 in OCV. Round 3 is where it gets tough. In the quarterfinals up against Okahoshi is closed for business. Somehow, Inoue is able to finish the job and lock his team's spot for the semifinals.
でもやっぱり闘撃時代って本当に自分の出番が1試合1分かからないで終わるようなそのゲームのうまさというより一発勝負にかける集中力コンセントレーションっていうかそういう勝負だったんでチームメートはチームメートでもうなんか奮起したし自分も自分でそのいざ出番になったら腹が据わったというか開き直ってプレーできたのがむしろ良かったのかなとは思いますけど。
チームメートを信じてるんでそれだけです。
いやーここに来て長話もあれなんですけどこいつコールじゃないですかでも多分順番回すと本気でやっちゃうんですよね。こいつ画家なんですけど超うまいんですけど多分もう書けなくなるレベルらしくていや本当にだからちょっとこいつらとは悪いんですけど違うってことで勝ちます。
The semifinals end up being East Japan versus East Japan and West Japan versus West Japan, guaranteeing the regional rivalry match in grand finals. It would be an East versus West Japan face-off. With their semifinal matchup for Inoue Japan, and it ends up being Champions Road Michi. This team is composed of Ochibi playing Yoon, another Chun-Li legend in Rikimaru, and the boss on Makoto. Kuroda is able to beat Ochibi, but Rikimaru is able to remove Kuroda from the equation. That brings up Inoue. Inoue is then able to beat Rikimaru, and this proceeds to a Makoto mirror match, Inoue versus Boss, and it ends in dramatic fashion to send them to the grand finals.
ちなみにその骨折した日にゲームセンター行ってプレーしたらめちゃくちゃ弱くて誰にも勝てなくて普段通りやってることが全然できないから普段やってることが全然できないんでその一晩、今の状態でできることは何だろうって本当に武器を減らして普段自分難しいことを目指しがちなんですけど、もうなんかできないことは諦めて簡単なことだけやろうかなって感じでボタンを押すスピードとかは別にねそのまま活かせるから。
ワンピ川東京エリア池袋ギーゴ代表井上ジャパン 2P 川近畿エリアゲームスペースベガス代表裏切りの星
全力を尽くしてもらいます。
万が一こいつが出るとしたらもう本当に人生かけちゃってるんで応援よろしくお願いします。
Kei is able to defeat Kuroda, who has a weird thing that he was trying to do on Okizeme, and ultimately scores the win off of a fat parry return and what ensues after. Inoue then steps up and defeats Kei, but finally, Chinta Ken steps up to the cab. Chinta, in the previous round, single-handedly erased a major fan favorite and high-value pick to win the competition, the RX Army, which was composed of RX, Nuki, and KO, and he did it by himself in an OCV. He murks Inoue, ultimately drawing out MOV, and this was the moment that the team had feared. But remember, part of what it means to be clutch is that despite the circumstances, can you find a way to be who you really are when it matters most? MOV settles down and he finds comfort with ground control, using Chun-Li staples like crouching medium kick, Neko punch, forward heavy kick, and ultimately he's able to control the ground and make it really difficult for Chinta to close the gap outside of a parry here or there. With good guard and throw breaking, he nullified Chinta's pressure attempts, and then something happens at the 70-second mark. MOV just understands the win condition. The throw game established with meter to back up the RPS. When you leverage that against Chinta in a masterclass performance the way MOV did here, Man, just count the throws, and you can see Chinta's mindset as it develops. Round 2, of course, opens. Fat cross-up combo from Chinta. Parry in the sweep, a forward throw to put MOV's back to the wall, and after a throw from MOV, he eats another deep punish on a whiff for Zanshu. In this scenario, Chinta is trying to go for this double uppercut combo on Chun-Li in the corner to be able to secure the round while also conserving meter for the next round. Unfortunately, he mistimes it. It was a kill situation either way, but this simple mistiming ends up giving MOV the opportunity that he needs. Throws, throws, throws. Then finally, the super on the crouch medium kick and the final throw feint with punish to seal the game and remove Chinta from play. And you can see it with renewed vigor and riding a huge wave of energy from the crowd. Saru has to step up to MOV in a match that felt like the whole world was against him. Through the opening play, MOV establishes a slight lead, but Saru has his meter. He activates on block, and with pushback, he's out of range of the command grab, and MOV recognizes it and runs. From the pursuit, the corner and mouse attacks the cat. MOV gets the throw into the corner, goes in for the overhead, close roundhouse, dips. Not only was the Genei-jin completely nullified, but he made it out with damage and bar. And what better way to seal the round than by leveraging it off of a parry dive kick. Round 2, and after a polite opening with some back and forth, Saru finds his opening with the Tetsuzanko after a throw break, and he's able to convert with Genei-jin into a 50% life lead. Saru finds a confirm into the corner, huge lead now, but never count out a Chun-Li with one bar. MOV, with the cast on, wins his second SBO title as Inoue Japan claims SBO Togeki Third Strike for 2008. Of course, as we know, it would not be his last. For fighting games, very rarely do we find ourselves competing in ideal conditions. Especially now, with as much as our games and stages have changed. The monitor, the faulty stick, buttons, bad scheduling, bad seating, the opponent not bathing or ripping ass violently. It's easy to allow yourself the relief of these excuses and get checked out. But to be the best, to be a champion, you don't get there without adversity. What will you do when you have to face it? And can you be yourself in spite of that?
どんな人が見てんのか2008年の闘撃のことを知ってる人が今時どんだけ残ってるか、ファイティングゲームファンにどれだけ残ってるかわかんないですけど、でも自分もそのね、若い頃闘撃優勝したとか、今年何年24年にエボに優勝したんだっていうのを自分のね人生の一番の思い出とかにする気は全然まだまだないんで、っていうかさっきも言ったけど、その全然極まったなとか、こういうプレイヤーになりたかったんだよなっていうのには全然まだ慣れてないんで、引き続きというかもっともっと頑張るんで、改めてよろしくお願いします。
With our time, with our games, with our scene, with our stories, play to be the player you aspire to be. Thanks to everybody who subbed to the channel and all the members, and I'll catch you guys next time. Be easy.